Welcome back to your OPL Sunday. If you're just joining us, Chiefs were too strong for Abyss. My name is Higgins. I'm joined here by Sharp and also Destiny as we get into our second match of the day. TM taking on Sin. A lot happening here at the OPL studios. I mean, Sin, obviously an emotional gaming house team. They're feeling pretty good after beating Chiefs last week. TM, however, when you look at these guys, Sharp, do you see a carry threat on their team? And if so, who is it?
Yeah, well, I would say Only probably is their biggest carry threat. You know, obviously his last few games have been playing the Kayn, playing more of a carry style oriented jungle, compared to Juves has been historically being on more of those utility oriented junglers.
Yeah, definitely. I think Only is 100% the star player of the TM roster. If he gets ahead, he does his best to try carry the team. If he can get on the likes of Rek'Sai, Kha'Zix, and Kayn, he can really influence the map. And I think if TM drafts smartly and get Juves on another carry jungler, this can really blow up the game. So I think banning out Maokai, Gragas, and Sejuani is TM's plan of action. And yeah, I think that is the best way for them to win.
I mean, Juice has been very vocal. He's the best Kayn Os. I mean, Only is the only person to play Kayn in the OPL. I mean, do you have an opinion on who's the best Kayn and Os?
Well, he actually pulled out Kayn against us.
Yeah.
And actually did quite well.
Yeah.
I was very surprised. So I would actually have to say, sorry, Jews. I actually think Only probably is the best Kayn and Os right now.
Trick question. Jake Spawn Tiberi.
Yeah.
Mid-Kayn.
Jake's
Mid-Kayn.
best
Trick
Kayn
question.
Os. Do you think Kayn's viable right now?
Well, like, it's a bit controversial, really, because I think that Kayn doesn't offer that much to a team composition.
Right.
Like, although his early ganks are quite strong, compression of the map early, it doesn't offer much CC, it doesn't offer much engage. It's a bit awkward to draft around, but in saying that, if you can utilize those early gank paths, like going through walls, yeah, it really can be effective.
Yeah, I agree with Sharp here. I feel like he doesn't offer much to a team besides his ganks. His ganking paths are very unique, that he can go through a wall and then just randomly appear and do some spinny circle thingy and do some damage to you. So
Yeah, no, I freak out. Every time I see Kayn in solo queue, I just freak out because he goes inside me and I'm like, I'll just run out of tower and kill him. And then he's got all his health balance.
and then there's just a black dot in your
It's
head.
too
and you're
much,
like,
yeah. Freaking out. I think another contested matchup in this matchup, TM versus Sin, is going to be in the top lane. We see Dockler, v Praedyth. I mean, these are both the split pushing. Wow. Okay, so obviously Dockler's the real split pushing threat because his kill participation is below 50%.
Yeah.
That's true split push.
But actually, it's actually quite interesting to see that Praedyth, his recent picks haven't been the split push orientated champions, unlike Dockler on the side here, who's actually got Fiora and Renekton. So I think Tainted Mind, have been really struggling to adapt to the meta at the moment, and it looks like they've actually been putting Praedyth more on those utility style top laners. Although, and Sin on the other hand, have actually been shifted previously from playing tanks like the Gragas on Dockler and putting on more of these champions like Renekton and Fiora.
Yeah, TMF said that they had a pretty bad read on the meta previously in the past patches. So yeah, they're obviously putting Praedyth on tanks and trying to play front to back and play more as a team and not as individuals. So I feel like moving forward, it is a good choice for them. And on the other hand, Dockler, I feel like he's really had a good showing in the OPL. From the beginning, he was like, just put on Gragas, just sit back and farm. But now I feel like they're willing to put him on the Jace, the Fiora, the Jarvan. They're willing to put him on the carry threats and really have an influence on the map.
Well, moving throughout the rest of this map, I think mid lane is going to be quite interesting because you have in Sin's mid laner, Ryoma, one of the kind of hot young stars of Sin and the OPL. Meanwhile, Shock, a guy who's admitted, who's kind of, I think has kind of quite a small champion pool, and as a result is getting target banned a lot. As a result, Sharp, you see him a lot on this Galio.
Yeah, I think Galio does suit Shock as like within the team as well. Like he's quite a supportive style mid laner. Like he's known for his Zillion. Galio and Orianna, all like semi-utility type champions. So I think what this does, it actually allows Only to play more of carry threat type junglers. And then on the other hand, you got Roma, which is completely opposite, playing the Talia and the Corki, impacting the map as much as he possibly can because he's so mechanically gifted.
Yeah, I think Shock has had a pretty rough split. His hero entrances on Galio haven't been used effectively, and he's been caught out a lot. While you look on the other side, we've got Ryoma. Ryoma is the superstar of Sin. He is a really good mid laner, up and coming, was the chief sub, now on the main roster, and he's improved a lot over the few OPL splits, and his Talia is a must ban, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Even though we played against it, we wanted to push our own limits, but for other teams that play to win, I think you should ban that out.
Absolutely. I don't think about Shock's Galio if he plays again today. Like you said, his ultis have been a bit misplaced, but also it feels like he's playing that out of necessity because because they're like, look, if your champion pool isn't deep enough, we need to put you on something that's just not going to die, right? Maybe that's their thoughts, right? Just try not to die. But then he's not positioning himself as the tank in this tank meta, and I feel like as a result, TM's team fights are suffering.
Yeah, it's a bit rough, really, especially if you're not used to playing the Galio and a team playing around Galio. Galio is one of those champions that requires a team to actually know how to utilize the ultimate properly. You know, the best way to play Galio is to have the aggressive jungler invading into jungle, backing him up with the Galio ult. And I don't feel like they've been utilizing that enough because Shock is just getting bullied around so much.
Yeah, I think playing Galio defensively is not how you play Galio. You want to play Galio to make plays, use the hero's entrance, get a big taunt off, and I do like the pick just because of the fact that they can put only on Kayn.
All right, well, speaking of only and Kayn, let's take a look at his team, shall we? Their top laner on TM is Praedyth. Their jungler is only. Their mid laner, who we spoke about, is Shock. Their AD carry is Low. And there he is, the Goon.
The Goon!
It is their support player, Blitzcrank main. Let's see if he pops it out today. And these guys, I mean, they're going into this, they're obviously the underdogs in this matchup. But you're saying before, potentially, if only can get on a carry threat, that's possibly their win condition.
Yeah, if Cyclone manages to get a draft that's orientated towards the aggressive style junglers, getting Shock a reasonable matchup in which he can survive the early stages of the lane and scale into the late game with a double tank, possibly on Praedyth and Shock, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, I think this is very reliant on TM influencing the map with T-Gun and only. I feel like they're the two playmakers that really need to show what their value is.
Meanwhile, their opponents are Sin Gaming. Let's take a look at their lineup. Their top laner is Doppler. Their jungler and captain is Juves. Their mid laner is Ryoma. Their AD carry is FBI. And Rogue is their support player. I don't know if you guys saw the mic check, but there was some argument in the Sin mic check about whether dogs or cats were better. Juves, big fan of dogs. Rogue, big fan of cats. He was saying that he wants 8,000 cats in the Sin house. Everyone can have 30 cats, and all the cats are going to love him. It's big cat talk.
Jake to Sin confirmed.
Yeah.
We got a roster swap on the way, guys. Check out my OPL animal tier list.
Absolute cat. So let me get you guys' predictions before we get into this match. Sin versus TM. Who's going to win this one? Sharp.
Although I'm pretty good mates with Cyclone. I really think that Sin will take this out 2-0. I do think that Cyclone will have some tricks up his sleeve. So yeah, although I just don't think it'll be enough.
I do think Sin 2-0, but my heart says the Goon. T-Gun.
Please win. Just win one.
All right, let's take a look at your tips as well. opltips.com.au. And, as we bring it up, TM, 17% of people think they're going to take it. And is that 0%? No, it's 3.8%. So almost 4% of people think that the team can take this 2-0. Those are the true believers. Get out there, TM fans.
Management.
TM management. All the way in New
time.
Zealand. They are popping off. All right. Well, if you'd like to tweet at us your questions about the draft, #ImOPL or via Twitch chat. But for now, it is time for us to get into our first match of the day. And on the other side of this feature, we're going to be seeing a TriCast. Jake Spawn-Tiberia has gone home sick. He's upstairs right now watching the games. And we're going to be joined instead by E-Jim and Jish from the Victorious Chiefs, who've just taken it. But right now, earlier this week, we spoke to TM about their struggles more recently in this split. Let's see what they had to say.
The last few weeks have been pretty rough, to be honest. I think we had a pretty good start to the season, but we've really slowed down, lost our pace, haven't been able to adapt as quickly as we could.
But that is a perfect game out of TM. Yep. They executed on all their win conditions. They had tempo at every stage.
We practice a lot, like every week, and it's obviously not showing on stage. Like losing both series in Super Week doesn't feel too great. So
there's just always the Sunday night quiet Uber home. It's getting pretty disappointing every week, losing.
We didn't have great practice during the Rift Rivals break because T-Gun got sick and was having issues with his shoulder, so we had to play with a substitute for a lot of our practice during that time.
And then the patch changes came and they hit us really hard. It exposed a lot of weaknesses in our champ pools and our playstyles, which sucks. It took us a while to adapt. The Chiefs series was a pretty good indicator that we weren't there.
So because our team, the most experienced players have been, the primary carries of our team have been on the top side of the map, it's kind of like de-emphasized their ability to have an impact in the game. and it's emphasised our less experienced bot in mid lane.
I personally am not a big fan of tank junglers. It's not my traditional style, but we've still adjusted in games. You know, you see me on the Gragas, the Maokai. I picked up the Kayn this week actually, which is more in my comfort zone. But yeah, very slow adaptation to the meta.
As far as goals go, optimistically you want to say, let's beat everyone and make playoffs. A realistic goal is we'd really like to avoid relegation.
I had played in the relegations last split, and it was not a pleasant experience. Like, we did obviously, you know, succeed and keep the team alive, but it's extremely stressful. Yeah, there's no other way to put it.
We have tough games coming up, but they're definitely games we can take games off them, if not matches. We showed that against Sin earlier in the split. Even though they are on the rise right now, they still have very exploitable weaknesses, just like we do.
We just need to stay one game ahead of Regicide, not even one match, just one game. And I think it's certainly possible we can take another game off Sin. Even if we couldn't pick up a series win, which I think we might be able to, we can at least take a game here and there.
It'd be cool to win a series, right, obviously, but it's... I mean, I'm not going in counting the days since I last won a series. I'm not going in expecting to win one. I go in just trying to do the best for the team and trying to help them improve.
I mean, personally, I just want to win a series for Brad, because it's likely to be his last split. So yeah, I just really want to win a series for him.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Jake Spawn-Tiberi has taken his final form of Bryce Paul as well as Josh Carlson. We're about to go into the second series of today. It's going to be TM taking on Sin, and a bit of a raise your quals for Tegan there. 1 year without a victory. That's a bit upsetting.
I think I figured out the problem with Jake. He was just Chief Spawn, way too invested in our series from the sidelines. So got a bit emotional there in the first game and voice carked it, and off he trots.
I'm not saying this on cast.
He's brought us in to replace him, but as we get into the draft, here we go.
Good night, Jake Spawn-Tiberi. Have a good rest. Hope he gets well soon, but you're right, we are into Champions League for game number 1 between TM as well as Sin Gaming. Last time these two teams faced off, TM were able to pick up, as Spawn said during that that interview piece there, nearly a perfect game. It pretty much was, except for a few kills going Sin's way. But that's all they got, a single game victory off Sin, and now TM desperately need a win to try and escape from relegations.
And I feel like Sin have been on the up and up since then, though. Especially against us. They completely roasted us last week. We won the first game, and Choo Choo's called us a bunch of cheeses with a very standard comp, I will add, and then picked up the next two in very convincing fashion. So they're coming into this week very strong.
Yep, and as Destiny mentioned, we're already seeing those mid lane bans, sort of the Taliyah especially.
Perma-ban Taliyah.
Yeah, definitely not getting his hands on that one.
Yeah, Rhymer being very well known for his Taliyah pick, but that's going to be banned out away from him by TM, with Jason Renekton short to follow after Maokai, Karma, and Galio, the 3 bans from Sin. Their favorite first pick is going to be Gragas, but TM take that away nice and early.
And Sin do ban the Galio. The desk was talking about Shock and his small champion pool problems, as Omar's giving us a bit of a wave there. And the classic OPL Wukong hover is coming up from Sin there. But yeah, they were saying he has a lot of champion pool issues, and they do ban away the Galio. They're fairly safe mid laner there. So also the Karma ban towards Tegan. He's one of the few OPL players that is still actually playing Karma in this meta, and they do flex it towards the mid lane.
And Shock has had quite a few comfortable performances on the Karma. Seems like one of his more comfort champions. But Kalista as well as Sejuani locked in very early here for Sin. Both teams avoiding the Zac pick for now.
And honestly, this is already a fairly scary comp from Sin. In a situation like TM, I think who are on the back foot coming into this game, I think a lot of people would, as the tips suggested, think they are the weaker team. Oh, Thresh. I'm not a fan of Thresh into the Kalista pick here, especially with the Sejuani. As I was saying, right, his composition is going to do one thing, and they're just going to steamroll you. Sejuani's going to go in, Kalista's going to throw a tank support, maybe the Alistar, maybe something like the Rakan. Rogue has had a good Rakan performance in the past. And something like the Thresh is not great into that, because you're the squissiest tank in bot lane.
Yeah, and you kind of get pushed into that weird situation because you don't really want to give a team like Thresh Kalista.
Yeah.
But then when you take it, you also end up versing like, Thresh Rakan, Thresh Alistar or something. It's sort of there's like no really good answer there. But I think, yeah, if you're willing to sort of, I mean, like you do get the Tristana who's going to like do well in the lane. And I guess you deny that, I don't know, like, you can't really deny anything against the Kalista lane, so I guess you just pick for what you're comfortable on.
I think the one positive side from this is that Thresh later into the game does serve really well in terms of repositioning a hyper carry like a Tristana. So if Low does get his build online. If he gets to 3-4 items, potentially he will be scaling up very well, and Thresh can facilitate him in that way.
I mean, you guys just played this exact matchup, the Kalista Rakan into the Thresh as well as Tristana. And the lane definitely looked like it went in Chief's favor most of the time.
Not a lot happened. I think Rosie is a much more passive player than both the supports in these ones. I do think that Thresh early in the lane does have the upper hand on the Rakan, unless he has a Xayah, but that's not in this game. So
Yeah,
T-Gun will look to abuse it, and I don't think Rosie did that in our matchup.
no Xayah ban came out from either team, and neither team decided to pick it. Instead, it's going to be Na as well as Jarvan banned out by Sin, and Assassins banned out by TM so far. Zed hits the deck.
Interesting. Assassins aren't seeing too much play in the current meta. A lot of tanks running around, a lot of armor, a lot of Knight's Vows. As another one hits the bench with the LeBlanc. Very scared of Ryoma.
3 bans to Ryoma.
Ryoma's onto it. He's doing that's the me pose.
That's the Ejim pose?
That's the tap your finger on the head.
Do you agree with the Ejim pose, Jish? You know?
I don't agree with any pose in those photos. I cringe at all of them.
Well, the first pick coming out from Sin is going to be Shen. We saw this from Abyss in their last series. Didn't do too well for Pabu.
Definitely has its upsides though. Like, I think that Shen has been slept on a little bit by Oceanic teams. We see him played, elsewhere. NALCS plays him a bit at the moment, and I think that with all these tank top laners coming back, he should see a little bit more light.
Yeah, and he does. He's a very good negator of top matchups. He's very hard to dive. He can stay healthy in the matchups. Does fare well against the tanks, as Jish was saying. And in this comp, he's going to just be ulting Rogue on the Rakan right here. He has so much facilitation behind him. He has the Kalista ulti, he has the Shen ulti to round up the lineup on TM. Potentially round up the Tristana and the Orianna that they picked. Get onto the carries. Come in with a Shen ulti. The taunt over the top of that as they are hovering the Rakan. Do they lock it in? They do.
The Rakan.
They already locked
Sorry,
it
that's
in,
a Kayn, yeah.
That is Kayn.
Kayn does get locked in for only again, the only player to play it so far, with TikTok Shock getting his comfort champion of Orianna.
Pick a Zir, do it.
He is not going to pick a Zir.
I mean, pick Rakan, do it.
That's already picked.
You can only pick Rakan once,
Round
Bryce.
2, round 3.
This is not blind pick, but let's see what Ryan decides to pick up here
Syndra.
into mid lane. Syndra gets locked in. This is a champion that was permanently banned last series. And one of Ryan's more comfortable mid lane champions.
Yeah, and when they've taken away so many of his options, it's probably one of the last standing ones where he does feel he has a favorable, lane matchup into the Orianna. Especially if he has, like the CC ganking jungler to support him. You should see a little bit of pressure, I guess, around that because it's really easy for them just to like pile in, chain their CC and try to get an advantage through mid lane.
And that combo just has so much CC. If you look at the top lane, they got Shen with the taunt. Sejuani has 19 CCs. Tristana.
19!
Sorry, Syndra has the stun. Kalista can throw around Rakan. Rakan has his ulti and his knock up in the W. That's a lot of CC. I don't like that one. As we see Shock with the answer cleanse.
Yeah, Bryce is pretty good at, playing support, but his maths is not his strong suit.
19 CCs on Sejuani.
Did I say 19?
You said 19. Even 9 would be wrong.
I reckon she's pushing 21 at this point. Like, that's that is a champion and a half.
Actually a disaster, but Kayn being picked up for only again. He's played it non-stop since it's been allowed in competitive play. We've seen it work successfully internationally, not only in the jungle but mid lane, but hasn't done too well for TM so far.
Yeah, I mean, he played it, and I want to say he went 5-1 or something in a game where the rest of his team was like 0-5. So like not to say that his team is dead weight or anything, but you probably wouldn't assume that that was the one specific issue with the game. He's shown a lot of mastery on that champion, and I think it was against Direwolves too. So obviously no easy opponent. I'm kind of interested to see how he does against maybe one of the junglers who aren't like as strong as Juves. Juves, who's not as strong as Schönfire. Maybe there's like some muscle room for only to work his magic. Yeah, maybe he can pick up that win for Brad.
Because it's a champion. This is a champion that we haven't seen played by anyone else so far. Only TM have picked it up. But for now, let's actually check in with Hingers, who's talking with the TM's coach, Cyclone.
Thanks, guys. I'm here now with Cyclone, and I want to ask about these difficulties you guys talked about in terms of adjusting to this meta. Have you guys kind of stopped the bleeding on that, or do you feel like you're playing better with this tank meta now?
Yeah, we think we've started to get a handle on it the last couple of weeks. It was just a bit rough earlier when things were changing really fast, and it was a big playstyle shift, but now we've kind of managed to get a grip.
All right, then. Well, in this specific draft, then, I want to ask about the Thresh pick, because you picked it up. Is that to take it away from them having a Kalista Thresh bot lane, or is it particularly just something you want to play into Kalista?
Yeah, it's a combination of, it's a good takeaway from the Thresh Kalista, Rogue likes to play it, and it's also a good matchup into Rakan, which we expected.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you for speaking to us, and best of luck in the match.
Thank you.
So Cyclone there, taking it away from Kalista, as well as a good matchup into Rakan.
Thoughts? That's what I was saying
That's
in the
exactly
pregame. That's
what
what I was
Egypt
saying in the
said.
draft phase. Very good early into the Rakan, but I think the matchup does swing once Kalista hits level 6 because Thresh kind of a pseudo tank. He does build tanky. He does get the relic shield, but he is like a ranged champion, and he does get killed very easily in the bot lane. He can lantern the Tristana out of ganks, but he himself can't get lanterned out. So he's a bit of a good target there as they are starting on the Raptors.
Yeah, only we get a leash coming out from Shock. Started with the shield there, so not as much damage, but does protect only quite a bit, and you'll clear out that Raptor nice and easy. Hits level 2. Meanwhile, Ju starting on red buff as well, gets a leash from Dokla.
And as we were looking at the interview there, as only is spotted on the ward on his red buff right now, I was going to say the blue side. Oh, as there's a
just a scuffle, but
little
they'll trade
scuffle.
off.
Thresh does take the worst end of that, but the lineup of Sin, they walked in and they got the ward on the red buff early, meaning that TM couldn't get the super leash on the blue side, which is very, very good in the current meta. A lot of teams are picking that one up, so neither bot lanes do actually lease for their junglers, so they don't opt in for an early gank because it only is pathing towards the top side.
Yep, looking to farm as much as possible. Juice moves towards his Wolf Camp. We check the top side map. Dokla on this Shen against Praetor von Gragas. He has been trying to adapt to the meta and playing more team fight based champions top side of the map, and has been doing all right so far.
I don't like it, in all honesty. I think as a team in the situation they are with TM, they are facing relegations. I think they should be sticking to their guns. The later half of the season isn't where you should be experimenting unless they think potentially in their minds that they are much stronger than Regicide and they're not actually phased by them sort of thing. I think you should be securing your place in the OPL here and not looking towards improving.
And they've got a long way to go.
It also kind of, depends on how they think about the OCS teams too. So if they're scouting a lot of the OCS teams, maybe they think that they are, like strong enough, and this is more a move that they're building, for 2018, rather than trying to just like cling into the 7th spot in the OPL and avoid like the automatic relegation, like feed in, rather like not auto relegated, but yeah, instead play for 6th versus 7th. Only, interestingly, he's gone straight top. He knows that Juice went bot side based off the ward that Praetor got for him, so he does actually start to counter jungle him, and he should actually get a decent lead from this, I think. He jungles a bit faster than Juice right now.
So he's going to be able to go up and CS. Actually tries to path top lane to help out Praetor, but it's not going to be able to connect with his W there on Kayn.
Looked like a bit of miscommunication there, honestly, from TM. Praetor burned his body slam really early when only didn't actually look like he was going in right there. They could have held that on for a little bit longer, potentially waited for the auto attack shield to go down from the Shen. There's a good lantern there. They dodged the combo.
That's very nice from Low and Tiga. But FBI and Rogue still pushing this lane quite heavily. This is kind of what we expect very early from these two. The lane is fairly even.
Potentially, though, I do feel like, as Cyclone mentioned in his interview, that Thresh should be able to bully around this matchup early. So they haven't got the good trades that they needed. They're already on the back foot, and as I was saying, this matchup does swing heavily in the favor of Sin's side at level 6, so they're already not in good stead. T-Gun does have 2 pots still available, so he's not too far behind, but Juves is looking down towards this bottom lane. Doesn't hit the Scry's Bloom because he doesn't want to give TM the... because that will show in one of the lanes, and then TM will be able to predict his positioning, so wisely just counter jungling the Krugs instead of hitting that one.
Only will be able to take his own Raptor camp, so both junglers chaining their Krugs here, and only does tick 5 quickly. Still no ganks coming out from Kayn, so hasn't been able to stack up his passive to transform.
Yeah, pretty sure Juves knew that Only would be coming out and going to his Raptors there, so he elects to take the I guess, like the weaker camp. Still level 2, bit of a fight bot lane.
3v3 fight here. Only will get there first, but great knockup from Rogue. Tiga now the first one to be in trouble, and will be taking down the first blood. Big pick by FBI, and great counter gank from Sin.
Yeah, just a really good read from Juves. Like, as I said, he expects Only to be on bot side to do Raptors, and he just sneaks down, jumps over the wall to do Krugs. As you mentioned, doesn't hit the Scry's Bloom because he doesn't want to give away his position, and he just turns around a really nice gank.
Yeah, and TM just had absolutely no idea he was there. They were down in HP from the early trades in that matchup, so if they knew it was the 3v3, they wouldn't have opted in for it, but T-Gun does flash forwards, looks for the flay into hook combo. Rogue gets a nice knock-up to negate the damage there, and as soon as Juve shows up, they just pick on T-Gun, the guy without the flash, and then he dies, and they pick up first blood there.
And Juves hadn't even based. Like, Juves is sitting on no items and only, has his items, so that could have gone, potentially a lot worse for Sin, should they have recognized that Juves had been bot side.
As you mentioned, though, they weren't able to get too much out of it thanks to the early trades that went in Sin's favor.
Oh. Can you see the indicator as they're looking on mid? Oh, doesn't let him.
Good flash around, but Tegan might be in trouble here. Does get a good shield from Courage of Colossus, and only is there to keep him safe.
Rogue is an ambitious player. He's flash forward. Tommy had no stun there to follow it up, so couldn't actually get the kill. But I have a Kayn question. I'm not actually sure. Does Kayn, the indicator when he goes into a wall, show even in fog? Because a ping came out, I'm assuming from Ryoma, when only dashed into that bush. So they knew where he was, regardless of not actually having vision.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that. I know when you have vision of the area he's coming out, you'll see it. Not quite sure if it works in fog of war. That'd be cool.
This is really when you need Spawn back on the cast.
Come on, Spawn, tell us about this Kayn pick. He must be so frustrated right now. Kayn gets picked as soon as he steps off the cast.
His ears are burning. As is the rest of him, you know, being in feverish and whatever. But
he can still tweet it, OPL. You know, he can still get himself on the broadcast.
Look
Come on, Spawn. Tell us the answers. But in the bottom lane just there, FBI got a good trade against Low, knocked him down to about 200 health, and Tegan missed his Dark Passage to shield him.
And a small note on the bot lane matchup, because a lot of the summoners have been burnt from that early skirmish, it actually favors the Kalista Rakan lane a lot more, because, as I was saying, at level 6, they're going to look to force an all-in. Juice will probably path down there, and not having summoners, Low does have his flash, but no heal, and Tegan has the ignite, which is kind of useless if you're in a reactive situation. That summoner discrepancy there, like even though the FBI and Rogue don't have theirs, still favors them because they want to be aggressive and they want to look for that fight. So, not in good stead is the TM's bot lane right now.
And down about 6 CS as well to FBI. Not too drastic, but definitely a lead nonetheless. Hook is on, lands on the Rogue, but they only get a bit of damage onto the Rakan.
Yeah, 6 CS is almost irrelevant, I think, in a matchup where you're going to outscale as Juice is found only. Oh, he gets the red.
He gets the red, only does tick 6 though, and uses his ultimate onto Juice. Doesn't deal that much damage. Meanwhile, FBI's been able to kill Tegan.
Oh.
Only flashes, but will get back into the wall, and ultimate from Juice whiffs.
he played it really nicely, but he sort of forced himself to, like, he put himself in that situation, I guess. You know, he has no pressure from his bottom lane, no pressure from his middle lane. Juves clearly has the timer on his camp, so yeah, just a dicey situation to be in, and as a result, you know, we missed this one.
There's that level 6 fight you're talking about, Bryce. Instant 6, still level 5 for Low as well as Tegan, and since bottom lane stolen them, that's going to be first turret falling for Sin.
Yeah, didn't even need Juice as he was preoccupied with only the jungle, so they still had the bot side control, and yeah, pick up an easy kill there. Tegan, no flash, just dies, and solo gold to FBI on the Kalista, who already has 2 kills, so he's going to be very accelerated in this game.
Yeah, he's got
Sitting on
4,200
2K gold.
gold, 2,300
He's
for
chilling.
Low. The amount of gold that FBI has in his back pocket is the amount of gold that Low has total.
That's depressing. That's sad.
That is not great at the moment. Meanwhile, Dokla, he's in some trouble. 3 members of TM trying to surround him, trying to get that shield, not going to be enough. Shockwave comes through and Praetor gets the kill.
Good consolation prize. You'd expect, I guess, maybe you could actually have seen TM, you know, rotate their bottom lane towards that play, knowing they're losing their bot turret. But now at least they get like pressure in the 2 lanes now, so that Sin do have to go a little bit defensive here and, you know, react to their side lanes at the moment, which is, you know, the reprieve that TM really need right now.
Only problem is they don't get the turret trade, so Sin is still up 1 turret to none, and it's the first turret as well. 2,000 gold lead for them, and all of that is on FBI.
You tell Juice is basing because he's got a nice big stretch in the player cam. He's got his arms up. He's leaning back as his chair. In his chair, rather. He is not his chair.
What?
Good distinction to make.
Yes, good English.
It's good to know that Juves is not a chair, Bryce.
Yep.
Thank you.
Actually, knowing Juves, he's leaning back in his chair and he's saying, hey guys, it's almost 10 minutes. You know I'm only on the clock for another 5, and then it's up to you to carry me. Juves is vehemently of the position. Ooh, are we going to see this all in?
Oh, there's going to be a big flank. Rogue comes through. The cleanse is not enough, and Ryoma gets a kill onto TikTok Shock.
And Shock did have the flash there. As soon as Rogue shows on his screen, he should know what's coming. He knows that he's going to look for the ulti, the knock-up. Doesn't respect it, tries to cleanse and potentially get a bit of an outplay. Didn't even have the ulti to turn it, so I think a bit of a misplay from him there. Didn't blow the summoner early, gets punished, and now they're looking around the mid turret as just trying to pick up the wave that was left behind.
But that's increased the goal lead, 2,600 in Sin's favor. And TM don't really have a dominating side of the map. Yes, only slightly ahead in CS, and Praetor has a kill. But that's tank on tank top lane.
And as the Des was saying, this Kayn pick already, I feel like, has not done enough for Only and for TM. He's been matched around the map by Juves a few times now. Hasn't picked up any kills for himself, has 1 assist, but will just get outscaled by the CC and the front line of Sejuani. And as this game goes on, I don't see this Kayn doing enough in the later stage of the game to warrant actually picking it. it was kind of the criticism that Sharp had on the desk because they're looking for another dive.
Trying to lock down Dokla. He's going to be able to get a taunt onto Only. Slow comes through from the W. Praetor body slam flash. Knocks Dokla into a wall, however, and he's going to be able to escape that.
Miniature flash from Dokla does get him to safety, and they lose their way for the top turret too. Another one's piling in, but we see an engaged mid lane from Juves.
Ultimate doesn't connect from Juves, but slows him down, forces a flash out of Orianna.
That was his master plan. He held it for that moment. He knew Juves was going to return gank him, and then he had the flash to get away there. Holds his inner turret, his outer turret rather. His mid turret vitally important for a control mage such as the Orianna. So
TM, however, do eventually get the turret trade, so they equalize some of the gold, but still behind about 1,500. Again, most of that gold is still sitting in FBI's back pocket. Blade of the Ruin King already complete for the Kalista. 3,500 for low, 5,300 for FBI.
You see T-Gun coming topside for this Rift Herald, but there's already been a couple pings from Sin on it, so I think that they are aware. It just depends whether they're fast enough to contest this one.
Rogue was running through the bot side jungle and placed a bunch of wards, so he's not going to have any available for him to check this. Looking at his sights on the scoreboard, doesn't have any, but he is face checking with Juves here.
Puts one down, slots out Tegan. Here comes Dokla trying to collapse. Only is still in this pit. Will jump over the side. Will Rift Herald be taken away? It is. Juve smites that one out. It's picked up by Dokla as well. Now trying to chase down Praetor, taking so much damage from Roma. He has his ultimate available. Will throw it out. Too much power from the Syndra. And Juve flashes forward to pick up that kill. Meanwhile, they collapse on the TikTok shock. He's going to fall. No way out for the Orianna. And Sin snowball onto the Rift.
And although, like, TM are trying to cling on to this game, right? They're looking for a greedy Rift Herald, and that is honestly the worst situation, where you get it so low, but you can't actually complete it. So Sin gets to pick up virtually a free Rift Herald. TM did all the work for them. And then they lose 2 lives on top of that, and their mid turret is going to fall here as well.
As well as dropping, the flash on T-Gun too. Yeah. Definitely sucks to super leash the Rift Herald for the opposing team, but yeah, as mentioned, Sin sort of were aware of it. There was a couple pings early, and they had the Rakan in Rogue, float up topside after he dropped his wards. You just can't get by them at the moment. They do seem, really switched on.
They're going to rotate top side of the map, pick up top lane Alta as well, increasing their lead. They're currently 4,000 gold up. This will make it close to 5,000 gold for Sin. Just 13 minutes, 30 seconds into this game. They've even got the single elemental dragon that's been picked up so far. An ocean dragon in their back pockets. And the win condition at the moment, before for TM, was the fact that Praetor was about 1,000 gold up and only was ahead of Juves by quite a large margin. It was really the bottom lane and mid lane that was going in Sin's favor heavily, but now I think that's even gone.
Yeah, for the lineup of TM right now, they have Gragas, who has as a frontliner, has a lot of disengage, and I feel like the Orianna-Tristana combo will scale well into the late game if they can get there, so they're just going to be looking to slow the game down right now. T-Gun with the Lantern will be able to keep low alive from the potential threats like the Shen taunt, like the Sedge ulti, like the Rakan engage from Sin, so I honestly think that's their game plan right now.
Yeah, with the Baron, over 5 minutes away, Dragon down 2, and all the outers gone, this is the sort of time where, TM really need to slow down and work out how they need to place the defensive vision sort of thing to slow the game down, because it's not impossible to back from here. But should one slip up come through and they just lose that bot lane inner or something, the game becomes dramatically harder for them.
Seen teams come back from 4,000, 5,000 gold deficits, but once that crosses the 5,000 gold lead, gets a little bit harder.
4.9k is all right, but 5k is not?
Nope. Not on that 100 is the straw that breaks the camel's back.
3/4 of a rejuve bead gets you over the line.
Just that little bit of regeneration.
I've mathed again, guys. That's definitely not.
It was funny. It was funny regardless.
That's 150 gold price.
2/3.
We'll give you points for it.
Yeah. Unlucky, guys.
Just also apply your calculator.
Now, big fight coming in for Sin here. They initiate onto Praetor with Dokla's ultimate coming through. Rogue will be pulled back by FBI, dropping turret aggro. They lock down one. Killing spree for FBI. Gets the second as well. Rips the spear out of Brad. And we'll pick up another kill.
And that's the slip-up you really can't afford. The blue side jungle has no wards in it. Sin get to walk through for free, dive that turret. Now they take it, and there's literally no response from TM. All of their waves are neutral, and Sin just cleaned that one for free.
And that was just so well played by the bottom lane from Sin. Rogue was tanking the turret for so long. They held the Kalista ulti till the last moment of that fight, where they picked him up, dropped turret aggro with Dokla coming in, shielding them there. Gets the free kill, gets the turret, and as you see, on the way out there, Rogue and Juves, they placed a lot of wards deep into the enemy jungle. Dokla's flash will be coming up relatively soon. And so potentially looking for another play on the top side of the map. As Tristana's just popping around.
I mean, Spot and I talk about this on the cast all the time, but since Rift Rivals, Sin have come back and they've looked fairly strong in the OPL. Who do you think's been the biggest benefactors of going overseas so far? Because Rome and FBI were always good, but they're looking really strong now.
Rogue.
Juves.
Rogue? Juves?
Juves.
Why Juves?
Juves is just, Juves previously had a lot of, disconnect between himself and his laners. He didn't know what they wanted, and they kind of didn't know what he wanted. And I think that, they had a lot of, they got punished a few times, obviously, over there, and they hunkered down a little bit. Big flash from Tommy.
Almost outplayed him.
60 damage, yeah.
Didn't quite
the
get
Flash
there.
R outplay from Syndra.
Didn't quite get it. Unlucky.
60 HP, Shock walks away with his life. But yeah, I think Juves, I'll let you give me Rogue in a second. But I think, yeah, Juves definitely seem to be on the same page now as his laners. And, it's really hard to call him stun. No ult, sadly. Can't kill this one. Give him 75 seconds.
Nice TP.
Trying to get behind Rome. He pops Ghost. He's just going to waddle away. Absolutely fine.
Not a nice TP. I'm going to say Rogue because I think throughout his time in the OPL, he was always a very aggressive player, but I think he was punished a lot early in towards his career where he would just make over-aggressive, just bonobo plays, I think. You could legitimately, I think, and he would describe himself earlier in his career as a bit of a bonobo player, and he would look for engages where they weren't won, and I think he's really... Rift Rivals, after coming back, he still gets those same engages when they're good, but he doesn't seem to make the slip-ups, and I think he's definitely a very good support player in the OPL, one of the best. Choo-Choo's was saying that Sin actually have the best bot lane duo in the OPL now, and FBI's been a mainstay in the OPL scene. Very good for a long time.
I'm changing my answer. I think the biggest benefactor was the Sin fans. They're the real winners here.
The 6th man for Sin. But we've seen improvements from everyone.
I just liked your answer too.
Okay. Not just the superstars of Rome and FBI who already looked good going into Rift Rivals. They looked much better coming back out. But Juves has looked better. Rogue, as you mentioned, looked better. Even Doklan's been performing a lot better since coming back. Whereas TM, they've kind of had the opposite story so far. Start of the split, they were taking games off teams, including Sin. And they were looking like they're going to be a team that could potentially improve. Meanwhile, there's an engagement through, so we'll touch that later. Big flank coming out of Rogue. He gets pulled out. Only is the first casualty in the fight. And they make swift work of Gragas as well.
And they already have the mid-wave shoved in there. Roma was pushing it in, wasn't actually at the fight, and they pick up 2 kills, and this looks like a free mid-inhibitor for the Sin lineup.
Tegan has to be careful, but that's a flash taunt coming out from Dokla. TikTok, Shock, good night. Your clock's not working anymore. And Tegan is a separate casualty to that as well. Now Lowe's trying to do his best to fight the back line, but he just can't, has to jump out.
So close to the full house. Grab the first 2 kills initially on the engaged bot lane, rotate mid. Almost clean up with their triple there at the end, but Lowe sneaks away just, but they will claim the inhibitor.
And I do want to highlight how immediate that play was from Sin. He had the flash on out of Doppler that was immediately cleansed by Shock, but then followed up immediately, I just said immediately, 17 times. There's your 17 number again. With the Kalista flash, with the Sejuani flash to layer the CC over that again. Very nice play, and they net themselves 2 inhibitors instead of the 1.
And immediately Sin go top lane. Now TM are looking to try and fight
back.
Do they
get it? No.
Not going to get it. That's a flash play from Tegan. Knocks back 3 members, but doesn't get too much from it. Knocking back Juice and Dokla. Big shutdown for Praetor. FBI, however, will be able to get a kill onto Only. He is massive, 5-0-3.
Just overstaying their welcome slightly there. A huge flash play from T-Gun.
They're still going.
They know he's there.
They're trying to lock down Praetor. Gets the stun. Rogue gets the knock up. Flashes away. Gets to the Dark Passage back to safety.
As I was saying, yeah, really, a really crucial engage there from T-Gun to deny the double inhib take. They also get the 2-man shockwave to follow up off that, so not a bad fight out of TM, showing signs of life. But at this point, a 10,000 gold deficit at 20 minutes. It's looking pretty grim.
So there we go. Look at that. 20 minutes is the Evolve coming up from Only. I'm not an expert on Kayn. In fact, I've said on broadcast many times, I hate the champion. I have no idea what he does. But I know that 20 minutes is way too late for an Evolve.
Yeah, the technical term for this one is called a disaster. This is the disaster Evolve. You really don't want 20 minutes.
There you go. You've heard this from Jish. You've got 3 different Evolves on Kayn. Red, blue, and a disaster. Not going well for Only so far. It does go towards Red Kayn again, so no Shadow Assassin yet.
He's also catching up to CS to his top laner too, which is not a good sign.
But Sin,
he might be dead here. Rimo was looking for the kill. Instead, Only going to try and go over the wall, but he just destroys Low. Good night, and he's going to die as well for that one. Dokla comes down What the heck?
I was going to say, Sin are setting up on the bot side of the map so that they can get vision for Dokla to safely split push, and then they're going to look towards the Baron, but Ryoma hits his outplay button onto low, and he gets absolutely one shot with the Shen ulti there to keep him alive from only, and they get 2 kills. Are looking for this, not the inhib, looking for the kill there.
They throw out Rogue, heals the backdoor Rakan right there. Got a couple of auto attacks on the Nexus, sorry, inhibitor.
Greedy.
There we go, engage cuts come out from Rogue, and that's a dead Orianna. FBI is now behind the Nexus, zoning Tegan away from the safety of his fountain. And Sin are looking to try and close out this game, 22 minutes in.
If the technical term for a 20-minute Kayn evolve is a disaster, as they get...
Low's dead, FBI goes godlike. That was a disaster to evolve, and if Spawn was here, he'd say this game was an absolute shellacking. As both Nexus turrets are going to fall. Sin have already got 2 picks on both carries of TM. They have to put up some form of a last stand, but it looks nigh impossible against the Sin lineup. Rogue is going out of his mind. He's shouting into the camera. FBI gets another kill. Only will come back out of FBI. Knocks him up, taunts him up. Shutdown comes out for Praetor, but it's way too late. Sin take game 1 over TM.
Juves is not happy with his AD carry there. Ruins his KDA. Dies at the last second. Could have had one more auto onto the Nexus, but I was asking you, Juice, if the technical term for a 20-minute Kayn evolve is a disaster, what is it called when you get zoned off your fountain?
I'll have to. No, I'm actually. I don't know. I don't know if we've got a term for that in competitive League of Legends yet.
It doesn't happen too often. It's definitely a rare occurrence.
It's kind of called KDA farming at that point.
Yeah, definitely is. I said it was greedy, but then they got the engage and didn't even look at the top lane inhib. They just took the fight there, and as we saw in the player cam,
sometimes greed is good.
Yeah, greed is good. That's a little throwback there. Was that a Age of Empires cheat code?
No, that was a Warcraft 3 cheat
games,
code.
Bryce.
Oh,
that was a Warcraft 3 cheat code. Greed is good. 999999. You get all the gold and wood possible.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't cheat.
But that game, TM, not able to pull off what they were able to do last time they played against Sin, which is pick up a perfect game themselves. Seems like the tables have been turned.
And they just didn't have an answer for the Sin's bot lane there. They had a lot of pressure, and Juice was following only around the map, didn't quite get enough done in the early game on that Kayn pick, and then the game kind of exploded. And they just couldn't recover.
They didn't really have an answer for anything in that game. They had one answer, which was going top lane and diving. Was so slow and staggered that it was definitely not enough to recoup their losses from bot side and mid. And the game was definitely one-sided in Sin's favor.
Yeah, it seems like TM's still struggling to adapt to the meta that has changed since patch 7.14. For now, though, let's send it back to the analysts to break down that game.
Thanks very much, guys. A quick victory there for Sin in that first game over TM. And Sharp, do you feel like they made advantage of all of their draft they got?
Yeah, well, looking at the draft, it was a little bit confusing that Tainted Minds, they pretty much dug themselves a hole right from draft. They've looked like they wanted to go for a teamfight orientated composition. They've got the Gragas, the Tristana, and the Orianna. Yet they filled it up with Thresh and Kayn. And and then Sin on the other hand have just picked Kalista, Kalista, Sejuani, Rakan. That pretty much means that they're not going to win teamfights, and they've got the Shen and the Syndra to finish it up. But it just was really, really hard for TM to actually win any teamfights throughout the game because Sejuani is just going to completely out teamfight Kayn. And Kayn not getting any of those early advantages that we spoke about, it just really hurt them. And it felt like whenever it came to a skirmish, Kayn wasn't there, wasn't ahead of the Sejuani, and Sejuani was just able to capitalize really hard.
Yeah, TM just looked flat. Their bot lane got bullied in early. They took a bad trade. Then when they did go for the gank, Juves was there. He tracked him very well, and then just counter ganked him. And the bot lane sort of just went boom because if you don't win that lane as Tristana, if it goes well for Kalista in the early game, it's really rough to recover.
Well, I do want to talk about this Kalista you talked about there. Kalista Rakan. Sharp, how is that interaction meant to work? How does that bot lane play?
Well, Kalista Rakan is a lane that isn't it pre-6 isn't that great, but here is a perfect example of this. Purely actually exemplifies the strength of Kalista Rakan. They engage with Rakan. Here, follow up with the Shen ult that they've drafted in, and here he gets rid of the tower aggro with the Kalista ult and manages to do a clean dive from full HP under tower. So this is right here is the strength of this bot lane. And Thresh doesn't seem like it's been an answer for this roster for this matchup bot. I think we saw Abyss do the same thing against Chiefs, and it just didn't work out. It does okay in lane pre-6, but once it starts getting post-6 outside of laning phase, Rakan will just constantly out-team fight and be able to make picks, and it will be really, really difficult for Thresh to land hooks on the Rakan.
Yeah, I definitely disagree with Coach Cyclone's reasonings as to why they picked the Thresh. I think if you're giving a team Kalista, then Yeah, you just have to take it. Like if you're giving them Kalista, you have to you have to accept that they're going to get Kalista Thresh. Like you've made a sacrifice in the draft, but they got nothing in return. So I feel like they messed up their draft in that sense. Because like Thresh Tristana, just like you're picking yourself into a really bad matchup. In my opinion, I don't like Thresh in the meta, mainly because they just build tanks and you can't hook anyone. And when they got behind early, it was really hard for them to come back.
And touching on that again, like you said, Thresh didn't have many targets to hook that game.
Yeah.
They had a double tank. That's Sejuani, Shen. You don't really want to be hooking them throughout the game. It's really extremely difficult to land hooks on the Rakan. I just felt like Thresh was just not a good pick for Tainted Minds.
Yeah, but both Alistar and Rakan were up. So
yeah.
There was other support priorities that still work really well for Kalista.
But then you got to ban Thresh, and then you've got to leave open Taliyah, Jace, or Renekton. So it just ends up everywhere because you don't want Rogue to get Thresh, and it all gets very, very complicated for TM. Destiny, I know that you were saying upstairs that just Sin controlled the entire game from start to finish.
Sin played their team comp very well. They used the Rakan engage very well, especially around mid lane. Yeah, we've got the replay here. They just execute perfectly. They got 2 kills on Gragas and Kayn in the bottom side of the jungle. The flash taunt into the cleanse, but they just blow up Shock. They're this far ahead of the game that they just perfectly got really good target selection, and they just know their limits well. I really like the composition that Benzel gave his team. They played to their strengths of bot side, and they really used the Stand United well. And that team fight just highlights. They played a pretty. That was a clean game from Sin.
Absolutely, 22-minute game. Well, I'm told that Sebi, their plan manager, said to Sin if they can win in 20 minutes, she was going to take them to a cat cafe. Or 22 minutes, I should say. And I think they might have just scraped in. So,
oh, really?
Oh, no, I'm told FBI stopped hitting the Nexus, and as a result, it just went just
about
over.
2 seconds.
As a result, no cat cafe for Sin.
Juves paid FBI. It was an inside plan. Juves doesn't want the cats.
Exactly, because Rogue's the cat man, and Juves is like, yes, come on, no cats.
Exactly.
So, getting back to the series, though, for TM, I mean, how do you reset now? I mean, obviously, you try and move around this Thresh pick so you don't have to take it. You ban it, presumably so Rogue doesn't get it. So, what do you want to see from them going to game 2?
Well, from Tainted Minds, I really do want to see more of a heavy teamfight oriented composition. I don't really want to see the Thresh in there with the Kayn. I feel like the Kayn hasn't been working out. If they're going to play the Kayn, they need to have laners that can follow up and utilize that aggression. I feel like Gragas and the Orianna weren't able to set up ganks for their lanes, and it just wasn't enough. I feel like if Only is going to play these aggressive junglers, they need to pick a lane that can punish that and can utilize the jungle pressure he has and the jungle presence.
Yeah, I think TM should relook at their draft. I think getting Praedyth in a very heavy trading top side with like the Camille, the Fiora, this is what he's known for. And now, even though they're trying to play like these team compositions, it's not working out. So I feel like they need to go back to their strengths and then ban out Sin's strengths, which is the triple tank. I feel like it's a risk that they could do, and they just have to deal with the Taliyah.
So
I feel like that's what they could do.
Fiora, Nidalee, Blitzcrank. We want to see these comfort picks from TM. Make it happen.
The Goon on Blitzcrank.
Yeah, the Goon on Blitz.
That's what we need. I say that every time.
do you feel like the Gragas pick is done as a flex pick, but it's less of a threat if you know that it only wants to play carries, right?
Yeah, it really doesn't. I don't think it works, the flex for Tainted Minds, because you don't really want Only on a jungler like Gragas. You want him on the aggressive style junglers. And then again, forcing it top isn't really playing to their strengths of Praedyth and their comfort being those heavy trading top laners. So yeah, into the next game, I'd like to see Praedyth on something like the Camille, like you said before, or possibly even the Jarvan, and then through that maybe snowballing top, using their jungle advantages that Only is getting over Juves, possibly push that into maybe some top dives on Doppler and see how they can push that advantage to the late game.
Yeah, at this stage, if I was TM, just pick for lanes. Sin looked like they completely outclassed them across the board. Good trades bot, a near solo kill mid where Shock only lived on 20 HP. And then in the top lane, Doppler just sat there and farmed and just used his ults well. Even though they traded sides and he died, he still did his role.
Do you feel like for Sin then, they just kind of like stick with what they're doing because it's working? Or is there anything you want to see them tighten up? Because I feel like when you look at it, it's a pretty good team fighting comp they've got.
Yeah, their composition really plays to their strengths. They've got the dominant. They left the counter pick to Roma, which is really smart because getting that favorable matchup in mid lane, even though it's not a massively favorable matchup at the moment, Orianna can actually handle the Syndra's aggression, but setting up that CC for Roma and giving that room to pressure the map was really smart. And playing junglers like Sejuani really plays to Drew's strengths. Getting him on those utility junglers that can set up ganks for his lanes and play teamfights really well is probably the best option for Sin.
Yeah, actually, I think the Syndra nerf on 7.11, where they nerfed her Force of Will, actually made the matchup a lot easier for Orianna because she can just poke and range with her Command Dissonance, and she can farm pretty well. So I wouldn't say that it was a counter pick, but it was more of a comfort pick for Ryoma because he's comfortable on the Talia, comfortable, and when that was banned out, he must have resorted back to the Syndra.
Like on that matchup as well, it kind of comes down to it's actually more of a skill matchup because it really comes down to how well the Syndra can land the skill shots on the Orianna, and conversely, you know, the Orianna landing the skill shots on the Syndra. So I think if the draft goes that way in the skill matchup, Ryoma is just going to come up ahead. He just has the superior mechanics.
We have a tweet that's just come in on #ImOPL while we're waiting for the players to get ready. This comes in from Kendrick KB, and it's for you, Destiny. What advice do you have for a low elo support struggling to rank up, and which champ should I choose? I know we talked about Janna last week and how you can just get freelo from that, but do you have any other advice for these struggling low elo supports?
If you're a low elo support and you feel like you're doing good, but you're not carrying, I recommend building mobility boots and just playing Alistar and just run around the map and combo. It's pretty much not a skill shot. If you WQ instantly, like it's pretty much a lock-on ability. So
Really,
it's
we're
hard
just
to
doing
miss.
weekly cheese lessons.
Yeah,
from Destiny,
weekly cheese lessons. If you can't play Janna, go to Alistar.
New segment.
Yeah.
New segment on the OPL.
Get movement speed Quins. Get movement speed Quins.
Movement speed Quins.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as like, you know, honestly, Blitzcrank and Thresh. They're all good solo queue champions because they can impact the map outside the laning phase. They can roam, but you just as long as you communicate with your AD carry that I'm not going to be in lane for this period of time.
Spam that back ping on your AD carry, and you can do what you want.
AFK 5 minutes. Gonna be back.
Yeah, definitely. I do think if you stick to 3 champions that you're comfortable with is the best way. I feel like if you swap and change champions, you don't really know, you don't know your limits. The more you play a champion, the more you get used to it. But yeah, even if one gets banned out, you have a reserve. So keep an open pool.
All right, another tweet we have in from SipeNav, which I know we saw this come in throughout during the broadcast. SipeNav used to be a coach, I think, for Abyss. Yeah. He's now working with Team Noxide. He writes, Destiny and Sharp, what do you see are the differences between the top teams, the mid teams, and the bottom teams in the OPL? And the reason I want to ask this is because obviously players and like coaches are a big part of that. But in terms of like how they view the game, is there anything in particular when you look at these 3 kind of tiers of teams we have in the OPL in their outlook that you want to talk about?
I would say that the top teams all have well, historically, you know, Chiefs have been quite dominant, and they've always been a dominant team, same as Legacy. And the common factor has actually been international experience. You know, like Legacy and Chiefs and us now, Direwolves, have all had international experience, and that's really taken us to the next level. But in saying that, apart from individual skill and apart from having superior like coaching staff, I do feel it comes down to having the correct mindset. You know, I feel like a lot of the younger players and the rookie players that are on the lower end of the OPL ladder are really struggling to use they're really struggling to embrace the fact that they are a lower team and that they have to learn, and it's really hard to overcome losses, and like constant losses throughout the split can really hurt a player. So I feel like the best players are the ones that have growth mindsets and are able to take as much as they can from each loss, and as much as, even if they win, take as much as they can from the wins.
Yeah, I agree with Curtis. If you're a bottom end team, and like most bottom end teams, usually when they lose, they're like, oh, this guy was the problem. But they don't look at themselves. I think that's what a lot of players do in the low end teams. They don't really take in what they need to change. They'd be like, oh, he should have done that. But in reality, you could have done something better. Like whenever I lose a game, I think of myself, what would Wolf have done? What would have Core JJ done? And I reflect on that, and I feel like that improves me a lot as a player. And yeah, I think it comes down to passion as well. If you're passionate to win, you will do everything in your power to improve yourself and your teammates. So I feel like you have to be good at the game, you have to be good at communicating, and you have to be hardworking to be successful. And I feel like that's the big difference between the top and the bottom teams, is that the top teams want it more. Every time you're slacking off, the other team's working harder.
Yeah, and then you can drop games to Legacy, for example. All right. Analysis of game 1, but let us get into our second game of TM versus Sin after these highlights from game number 1.
Wolf
will be taken away. It is. Juve smites that one out. It's picked up by Dokla as well. Now trying to chase down Praetor, taking so much damage from Roma. He has his ultimate available. Will throw it out. Too much power from the Syndra. And Juve flashes forward to pick up that kill. Meanwhile, they collapse on the TikTok shot. He's going to fall. No way out for the Orianna. And Sin snowball onto the Rift. Now, big fight coming in for Sin here. They initiate onto Praetor with Dokla's ultimate coming through. Rogue will be pulled back by FBI, dropping turret aggro. They lock down one. Killing spree for FBI. Gets the second as well. Rips the spear out of Brad. We'll pick up another kill. Tegan has to be careful, but that's a flash taunt coming out from Dokla. TikTok shot. Good night. Your clock's not working anymore. And Tegan is a separate casualty to that as well. Now Lowe's trying to do his best to fight the back line, but he just can't. Has to jump out. It's a flash play from Tegan. Knocks back 3 members, but doesn't get too much from it. Knocking back Juice and Dokla. Big shutdown from Praetor. Only going to try and go over the wall, but he just destroys Lowe. Good night, and he's going to die as well for that one. Dokla comes down. What the heck? As both Nexus turrets are going to fall. Sin have already got 2 picks on both carries of TM. They have to put up some form of a last stand, but it looks nigh impossible against the Sin lineup. Rogue is going out of his mind. He's shouting into the camera. FBI gets another kill. Only will come back out of FBI. Knocks him up, taunts him up. Shutdown comes out for Praetor, but it's way too late. Sin take game 1 over TM.